Am I the a-hole for clarifying via social media post that my wife's baby was the product of her illicit affairs? My male 49 wife Cynthia, female 45, got pregnant against my will after we had discussed and agreed on not having any more kids. We already have female 18, male 13, male 8, and male 4, and I was scheduled for a vasectomy. She claimed she was on a pill, but I was using rubbers because I wanted to make sure nothing happened. I had my vasectomy, but she was pregnant a few weeks later. She was overjoyed, and I wasn't. I didn't want to be an old dad. She claimed the pills didn't work. I never pushed for her getting surgery because I know it's harder for women, and she said injectable contraceptives hurt her health. I checked all my condoms, and all of them had been pierced. We had a huge argument that ended with her crying. My trust has been destroyed. I assume that nothing she says is true. She also got fired when she was 3 months pregnant. I found it weird that she didn't fight it. Then she said she needed to stay home, which is exactly what I dreaded. She said morning sickness was too bad to go to work. For our entire 18 years of marriage, she has pushed to be a stay-at-home mom. We can't afford it. She gave me the silent treatment for weeks after our second was born when I said she needed to find a job. I never heard the end of it, as she calls it, when I made her leave our baby and sent her to get a job, like I had ripped her away from our kid. I got suspicious thinking that perhaps she had resigned and was lying. I know it's wrong, but I got into her phone. Long story short, she had a workplace affair, and she and her affair partner both got canned. She slept with him during her training out of state, and eventually scheduled every assignment out of town to cheat with him. He is in his late 50s, married. She also slept with my cousin's son, Nelson, male 29, and he's a drug addict. Asan heard messages between them. He would come to my house when I was out. I've asked the neighbor and they confirmed. My neighbor said Nelson would show up sometimes 2 days in a row when I was out. I checked my schedule and it could have been when I went to Ohio for 3 weeks. I came home on weekends, but everything seemed normal. What's worse is that Nelson calls me uncle. I let him stay over a couple of times. She also used our own kids, our 2 youngest, as leverage, promising that he could see them if he didn't pressure her and kept his mouth shut. So she obviously put him in some type of a stepdaddy role. She told him the pregnancy was his baby. I hate him, but I think she manipulated him because he has zero relationship with his parents or his siblings, and he kept texting her about how she was like home to him. I lost it and woke her up. She tried to claim that she was SA'd by both men. Then she said she was pressured into it because they threatened her. I confronted both men. I reached out to her ex-coworker via social media, but he blocked me after a couple of exchanged messages. Nelson did get belligerent, and it could have probably ended in a real fight if I had him in front of me. The paternity test came as negative. I moved out and got a lawyer. I refused to be at the hospital during childbirth. It was stillborn. I was shocked. Even if it wasn't mine, it felt dark and strange. I offered my kids emotional support but didn't allow her to cry on me. I had to get a court order to get DNA test on all our kids. They are mine. A few weeks ago, people on Facebook started asking questions and attempting to call me out for not posting anything about the baby. I think she might have told someone that I wasn't present at childbirth because a couple of people came at me. We are getting a divorce, and I'm very angry that she's still trying to milk it. I told each person the truth separately, but eventually got fed up with looking like the bad guy and wrote a post saying thank you to everyone who has reached out to insult me, but the baby was not my child, as per the paternity test. I had to step away from social media because of it. Her family called me, asking to take it down. They didn't know the full story but said this is not how things get solved. I'm not deleting it, despite being called out for ass-shaming. While I worked my butt off for our family, she was texting her best friend and complaining about how I'm not the shadow of my former self, how I look old and let myself go. Her friend had an angry response, but they are not on speaking terms anymore. Cynthia claimed that her friend ghosted her and she doesn't know why. I'm suing for custody, since she repeatedly took my kids across the state so that Nelson could hang out with them, and left them with her dad before I came home from work so that she could go do work stuff and hook up outside of our marriage. She had been begging me to not ever tell the kids about the paternity test, but they needed to know the truth before she twisted the narrative. Our daughter won't speak to her, and our second child wants to come live with me. I'm sick of crying sporadically because sometimes I'm driving and can't hold it in. I can't even watch adult vids because she and her affair partners come to mind. I had a family, and despite everything, I was proud and happy, and she took it away. I didn't know she saw me as less. She told her ex-best friend that she loved watching the executives in her job. At least her friend defended me, although we are not close. My lawyer says we should contact her as a character witness. I hate Cynthia, and I told her during her pregnancy when she wanted to initiate sex. She's naturally overweight, and I loved her as such, but I hated the knocked up by the affair partner version of her. I told her she looked grotesque, like Jabba the Hutt. Her lawyer is pushing for family counseling. I would only agree to civil co-parenting, but nothing oriented at couples reconciliation BS. She calls it a mistake, but to me, she bred via infidelity and created an entire human being. And I will never forget that. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my post down? Am I the a-hole for refusing to show compassion? All I want is to get out of her life, and I feel like she's trying to keep me from moving on. Sorry if I don't make too much sense, but my mind is still foggy. Now for the top comments. She is gaslighting you so bad. It is really sad and extremely frustrating. I would be very angry too. OP's social media post was a justifiable response to public scrutiny. Not a-hole. So long as she is spinning a false narrative, you should feel free to defend your own reputation. To anyone demanding you take that down, ask to have her post the truth instead, and you will no longer need to defend yourself. It also seems like there are many affair partners, and you have been holding back damning details you could describe. She betrayed you, and a life and family you both built. And what was with the holes in the rubbers? Was she trying to look like a freak for getting pregnant with you behind your back to disguise the fact one of her affair partners already got her pregnant? Yes, this same thing happened to my partner with his ex-wife. She was already pregnant with her affair partner, was fully aware of that. She was not sleeping with her husband at all. Then suddenly she wanted to try for a baby. They did it at a handful of times and stopped again once she became pregnant so quickly. He didn't find out until the child was 10, and bio dad went for custody. OP's ex probably intentionally poked holes in his condoms after realizing she was pregnant, so that she'd be able to hopefully have him believe the child was his, despite looking like a psycho condom saboteur. I know the type. A woman like this will do insane things just to avoid admitting she did something wrong. In my partner's case, she actually told the affair partner that their child was stillborn, after filling his head with fantasies with the family together, just to avoid him when she decided to stay with her husband, who was unaware and thought the baby was his own. Affair partner found out via social media a few months later that the baby existed. Then she tried to claim she had adopted the baby following her stillbirth. Like, it sounds fake, but after knowing everything my partner's ex did, I entirely believe OP's wife is the same. Women can be psychopaths too, and it's terrifying because they can fly under the radar for decades. Our culture seems hell-bent on blaming everything on dads. Oftentimes, it's the mothers who make it impossible for the dads to stick around, and only recently have courts started paying attention. Before that, moms were pretty much legal saints and got custody, unless they got caught hurting a child or with a needle in their arm. Next story. My wife did not have sex with me for years when I was depressed. Am I the a-hole for considering leaving her now that I am back to normal? My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 9 years, together for 14, and we have 2 children. Long story short, prior to this year, I was depressed. This period lasted for almost 3 years and was a culmination of various things. My best friend dying, work stress, life in general. During this time period, I did not have sex with my wife even once. My libido had drastically decreased, but whenever I did initiate, my wife said she wasn't in the mood and wasn't feeling attracted to me. That really hurt me and was also probably another of the causes of my depression. However, starting this year, I made a resolution to improve my life outlook whatever necessary, and at least fake it till I make it. I started going out more, going back to the gym again. I was a gym addict before I was depressed and had a more positive outlook in life. It's been almost 9 months now, and I can say I'm the fittest I've ever been, because I really slog it out at the gym and take out all my frustrations there. I am also generally much happier and have a very active life. My intimate life has also drastically improved, and we have it frequently. However, that is the only thing that really bothers me. While act itself is great, I don't feel any emotion or love for my wife. I still feel very hurt that my wife rejected me for years and told me many times that she was not attracted to me. Would I be the a-hole for considering leaving her now that I have my life in order? I don't think my wife stuck with me at my lowest, and that has severely impacted my love for her. Your wife stayed with you during the 3 years you were depressed. Maybe you don't see the whole picture, and it was tough for her to manage the household while you needed time. Maybe she was just exhausted by taking care of you. Talk to her before making any decisions. She probably was tired. Living with a depressed person can feel like slogging through wet cement. You should talk to her honestly, explain your side, and see what she says. If it's something you both can't see on, mention a marriage counselor to help. Depression just doesn't go away long term. It stays with you for a long time. You should also think about how your 3 years of depression affected your wife. This did not occur in a vacuum. It had to have been very difficult for her too, which may have affected her libido too. After I came out of a very bad 3-year depression, my husband and I had a very honest talk about the lack of sex, and he admitted that it was hard to feel a desire for sex with me while he was my caretaker. Of course, I felt hurt, but the way he explained it, I understood where he was coming from. And he didn't tell me any of this while I was sick, and he was still as affectionate as ever that whole time. That line between caretaker and partner got really blurry and uncomfortable for him. He didn't love me any less. He didn't make me feel guilty. He never even considered leaving. But chronic illness affects your partner too. Last story. Am I the a-hole? Ex-wife called the cops on me after I saved our son from her mistake. I am divorced and I want to make sure I am not being unreasonable against my ex-wife, but I am feeling pretty worried about my kid's health. We have a 5-year-old type 1 diabetic who was diagnosed on his first birthday, so we've been at this for 4 years. We got the Omnipod system this year and we all went through the training. Insulin pump. I woke up on Monday morning to texts from his mom saying his blood was 425 to 525 plus. 85 is normal. From 11 p.m. through the night. It was currently 6 a.m. and his blood sugar was still too high. She was saying he may need to go to the hospital. She says, maybe change his pump. Maybe he needs a new one. This means change it in an hour and a half when he gets to my home. My first thought is pump issue as well. I told her, the doctors say to take his pump off, give him insulin from the pen, then put a new pod on when he comes down. This is mandatory basic understanding to use this system for our son. Her reply, the doctor said to do that if the pump doesn't work. What doctor told you that? I explained to her that the doctor recommended this at the last endocrinologist appointment I had with him. Her reply, you can try what you want at your house. If he's not down by noon, you'll need to take him in, or I will. I am frustrated by this response. His blood sugar has been high for 7 hours at this point. By the time she drops him off with me at 7:30 a.m., it will have been 8.5 hours with blood sugar over 400. She has clearly communicated she is at a loss and is questioning hospitalization. Why would she be okay with waiting until noon? That will be 13 hours with blood sugar over 400 and serious risk/certainty of DKA. His blood turns to acid. I reply, if you bring him to me ASAP, I'll get his blood down quick. If you think he needs a new pump, you should not wait on that, especially if you think he's close to hospital level. You need to provide me with all the troubleshooting steps you've already attempted. Her reply, I don't think there is anything wrong with the pump. I don't think you realize how high his blood sugar is. This is much worse than normal. If this happens at your house a lot, then there is a serious problem. Troubleshooting steps? This is our son, not a robot. Try to care for him just like I have done all night. If he is not better by noon, we will take him in. Hospitals help, not harm. To her, I do not think there is anything wrong with the pump. I remind her of the text she sent where she says, maybe change his pump. Maybe he needs a new one. I ignore the rest of her jabs as I am worried about my son and feel helpless to help him when I know what to do and she isn't following the training. I simply reply, tell me what steps you've taken throughout the night. Did you bolus for phantom carbs? If so, to what degree? Did you test for ketones? She replies that she did not test for ketones and asks me to do that on my time with him. She explains that she was tricking the pod to give double doses all night. And she tells me that she just removed a pod and immediately gave long-acting insulin. That is not the insulin he needs. He needs short-acting insulin. I ask, what time did you give long-acting insulin? I'll need to know for putting the pod on the next day. What was the dose of insulin from the pen you gave at that time? What was his blood sugar at that time? When did you notice he was first high? The Dexcom Follow app doesn't show me the exact time. What was his diet yesterday? What did he specifically eat before bed? She responds, calm down. If this is too much for you, I'll take the whole day off and take care of him myself if you prefer. I reply, I am the definition of calm. You are not providing the right details. Very long story short, she answers none of my questions. I get him and he was never given a shot from the pen. I check his blood manually, give him the correction dosage from the pen, and call the endo team, and he was perfectly healthy within 2 hours. His mom got seemingly defensive that he was healthy so quick with me, and demands I take him to the hospital even though he is now healthy. His endo says not to, that he is fine and only has trace ketones so no risk of DKA, but to monitor him. His mom called the cops on me. The cops say he is fine. She calls the fire department. They show up and say he is fine. I take him to the emergency room anyways at her request. He spends 3 hours just getting tests and fluids, and they release him showing he was fine all along. So check me. I provided the exact quotes from my phone. Am I being a jerk? Does it seem like I was freaking out? I am very worried about my son for future situations with this woman, who seems to exude pride and ignorance at the expense of my son. The hospital sent us a behavior contract saying that if these outbursts continue, they can dismiss my son as a patient. I just want to check myself and see if I'm a part of the problem, because I might need to go back to court with her and fight for medical decision-making to protect my son in the future. But if I am part of the problem, then I need to check my attitude first. She called the cops on you for what reason exactly? Because it sounds like she didn't take him to the hospital when she should have if there was actually an issue. You need to get CPS involved or go to the judge, because she's either going to kill your son or she's gonna get him in trouble with his doctors because she overreacts to things. It's incredible how she managed to completely underreact to a dire situation and overreact to someone essentially being better than her at something. This woman is a danger to her child. I can see why she's an ex, but I have a feeling this isn't even the reason. As you say, Opie, she exudes pride and ignorance at the expense of your son, not a-hole. Not a-hole. Get everything in there in writing, and talk to your lawyer about getting full custody of your child in the longer run. A person over 400 should have been with urgent care or something immediately, not waiting 7 to 13 hours plus, and her general incompetence with a 5-year-old scares me. This is a 5-year-old, and she's going to unalive your child. I've spent the rest of my week getting the records from the hospital, conferring with my lawyer, and I'll have to grab the police reports. Good, because holy crap, she seriously could have unalived him. That's horrifying.